Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. It's your boy Tac-Tee here, and I have a special guest today. It's actually my father, Mr. Tac-Tee, Senior Tac-Tee, if you will. Okay, all right. How you doing today, Dad?
Doing well. How's it going with you, man?
Doing great, doing great. So, as the title of the video is, today we're talking about AK-47s, which I do not own. So, I'm gonna hand it off to you. Why should I own an AK-47?
Well, one of the reasons why you should own an AK-47 is because if you did own one, you'd be able to cash in on it because AK-47s are actually quite rare rifles. As the name as the name implies, the rifle was created and released in rather released in 1947. You know, it's armament Kalashnikov. In other words, the arm made by Kalashnikov, year 1947. Those are actually quite rare. The rifle that we usually talk about, we call AK pattern rifles the same way we talk about AR pattern rifles.
Okay,
So those rifles are actually extremely rare. They haven't been made in a very long time. They haven't been manufactured in a very long time. The rifle that we tend to see is called the AKM, as in Michael.
okay,
That is the ubiquitous rifle, and millions upon millions of those have been produced. And one of the reasons why they are so popular is because they are so cheap to produce. They're significantly, or at least up until very recently, they were significantly cheaper to build than pretty much any other rifle, except for the SKS Chinese rifle, which steals a lot from it, in my opinion. So that's why I said, if you were to have one, you'd be rich because you can get thousands upon thousands of dollars for them, due to the fact that you haven't been able to import those into the United States since the mid '80s. So even if you
okay.
had one, and they were already on the way out, even if you had one, they would be rare, and you would get thousands of them. It's similar to owning an actual Uzi. You
Okay.
know, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, because AKs are AK-47s themselves are fully automatic rifles, so they're subject to the various, in what I like to call infringements that have been done in the United States over the past several decades.
Okay. So how could a civilian today own an AKM? What would they do? What's a good brand to go with? What's the idea of owning one?
Well, it depends on what you want to do with it. Just like with many other items, especially in firearms, we have, are these working guns or are they safe queens?
Okay.
Some people look to have, a vintage Colt Python, because they're considered like one of the prettiest ones, or the Smith and Wesson model 4944 Magnum. Um, so if you have those, you can have them for collectability or for work. So uh, so if you wanted one of the ones for the collectability, you would want to get a fully automatic one, and
Okay.
those fully automatic ones are controlled by the National Firearms Act, NFA for short, and you would have to pay somebody who already has one in the United States because you have not been able to import those firearms since 1986 or thereabout. It was 86 or 88. I don't remember right now. Been dealing with Doge today at work, so it's been a fun day. So that's what you would go about doing. It would be just like any other fully automatic firearm that's imported.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what you would do, and just to let you know, it would be virtually impossible to get one imported today due to the restrictions and the requirements of importing a foreign firearm now.
Okay. So what about the American made ones or the Turkish made ones that are available in the States? Like those AKM, the PSA makes one.
Yep.
You have a couple of Turkish brands that make those. Are those worth it? Should somebody get those or what are those?
Yes, most of them are okay. Overall, I would say that they're not worth it, and the reasons why I would say that is several. First one, the Romanian AKs, the ones made in Romania, are considered the standard, except for there was one that was called the Valame, I think it was
Okay.
Valame. It was made by the Swiss of all people. That's considered the gold standard. That's the Rolls Royce of the AK variant rifles.
Okay.
But the ones that are here in the United States, they're actually, very good and serviceable rifles. But contrary to popular belief, we might get into it a little later. AKs are not considered, AKs aren't no matter what they function, rifles that a lot of people, especially Hollywood, would like for us to believe. They're mechanical items. And as you well know, you can have a Toyota Corolla, from the mid 2000s, that are legendary. But if you don't change the oil,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't change the spark plugs, they break
Mm-hmm.
down. And the same exact thing with those guns. But also the other reason why I say that is that up until very recently, we've had um, sharp drop off and pretty much an eradication of the importation of the ammunition that the AK variants use. And because much of that ammunition was made in Russia or in the Eastern Bloc countries, and the Biden administration put a very hard importation restrictions on those because of what's going on in Ukraine at the time of us recording it. So that's why I would say, don't get me wrong. I think that they're excellent. They are excellent rifles,
Mm-hmm.
but I really think that much of their legendary mythical qualities, just like Glocks, have been overcome by various events.
Okay. And that round of the AK-5, that's a 7.62, is that correct?
Actually, there are two. The AKM-5 is the 7662 by 39.
Okay.
Um, and they also find one that's a 5.45. So it's like 20, it's like a 21 or 20 caliber,
Oh.
so to speak. So those are the two that they fire. And the one that the AK-74, which is actually the current rifle that the previous Soviet Union uses most of the time, they actually use that round, and that's a significantly different round than what the original AK-47 and the AKM fires. And one of the reasons why the 7.62 round is in my opinion excellent is because that is less likely to be deflected when you shoot it. As a matter of fact, this was shown in Vietnam when they were using the 5.56. The 5.56, was more easily ricocheted or thrown off its trajectory when it hit a relatively small item in there, where the 7.62 round being significantly heavier, it would just punch through that stuff, and it would punch through thin saplings and things like that. Whereas the 5.56 would hit that, and much of the energy would be dispelled inside of it.
Mm. So speaking about that, actually, speaking about Vietnam, we have Vietnam,
Mhm.
Afghanistan, Mogadishu, um, uh, Myanmar as well, Chad. Virtually all modern wars have the symbol of the AK-47.
Yeah.
Why is that the gun of choice for rebellion?
It's not necessarily for rebellion. It's the symbol of what the countries used at the time of their decolonialization. That's what they used when they were getting out of it. Remember, all of North Africa and all of Saharan Africa and sub-Saharan Africa and most of Southern Africa was colonized.
Mhm.
So as they decolonized, one of the firearms that was pretty much ubiquitous to it was the AK pattern of rifles.
Mhm.
So that's what you did. So the ones that stayed with the West or the colonial powers, whichever way you want to look at it, they had no reason to change their flags. So for example, South Africa for the longest time, they didn't put the FAL on their flag, and they had tons of those. Why? Because they already had a flag. And also one of the things that Russia did was that Russia gave away a whole bunch of their older rifles, because one of the things about the AKs is that the AK, can be produced extremely cheaply up until very recently, because most of its parts are stamped. So what that means is that what you do is that you take a flat piece of metal,
Hmm.
you put it to a form, and then, you just use pressure to then press the shape into the metal.
Gotcha.
And so that's called stamp. And what they do is that they hit it with tons of force, bam, and then they do it. You can just keep doing that.
Okay.
And also they did it in plants that were built, almost 100 years ago, and they were producing for the war effort. And so after the war, they just kept producing rifles. Pretty much the same thing we did. Just to let you know, there are unfortunately I don't remember the data right now, but if I'm not mistaken, there's close to, let's see, how many ARs as opposed to, are there more ARs or AKs? Because one of the things that is good competition in um, is that here in the United States, especially, the private ownership of guns is encouraged here. However, there are oh, that's nice. Yeah. So there are more AKs in circulation
Hmm.
worldwide than ARs.
Okay.
So there are approximately 72 million AKs, and there are about 24.5 million ARs that are in circulation. However, there's a significant difference in that because when we talk about circulation, it means something different. With the ARs, there's a lot more ARs in common use, and the United States is one of the very few Western countries in which private gun ownership is quote unquote allowed.
Hmm.
Um, the only reason why I say that is, because the way that the laws may be structured differently, and also as a philosophy, my I do not believe that the ownership of guns can be allowed, because I think that is an extension of natural rights. I believe that they can be restricted. So the ambient state of humans is to have the tools necessary for their survival.
Hmm.
We don't tell that what is it, raccoons that wash their food. We don't tell raccoons that they're permitted to wash food. You know, we don't tell an orca that they're permitted to hunt. No, it's a natural thing, and us defending ourselves are the same thing. But there are a lot of there are a tremendous amount of AKs that are owned extrajudicially. So there's a ton of them tucked away in various places. And also that accounts for all of the AK variants. So the few AK-47s that might be out there, but the large amount of AKMs and AK-74s that are in circulation, they accumulate those. Meanwhile, the AR is one type.
Hmm.
I'm sure that if we talk about the rifle that was most commonplace prior to the AR coming on the block, there would be tons of them. They're called the FNFAL. It was called the right hand of the free world. So there were tons of those too. But they were very cheap. Now, like I said, because they were stamped, so they were very cheaply produced, and they were just dumped wherever they can go. As a matter of fact, there's a great story when they were producing that movie, The Lord of War, with Nick Cage.
Hmm.
When you saw all the rifles and everything, those were not props. They actually bought actual rifles and I think it was in the Ukraine, or one of the former Eastern Bloc countries. They actually bought them because it was
Hmm.
actually cheaper to buy actual rifles than it would have been for them to make replicas.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how cheap they are. And that's one of the reasons behind the myth of the legendary reliability, because usually you had so many of them that if one didn't work, you just went and got another one.
Hmm.
Whereas with the AR, you tend to want to fix it.
Gotcha.
And that'll come to another thing where we talk about customability.
Well, yeah, well, with the AK, we see it as a gun that is highly customizable. You can take it apart, field dress it, very similar to the AR. but we seen videos of people throwing it in mud, picking it up, firing around, putting it in the sand, freezing it. I
Ooh,
think Grantham has a video on it
yes.
as well. But yeah, like this, the gun has the reputation of just being a always fire gun. It's a buy one's crowd situation. You get an AK, it's an AK for life. But I hear you saying that that's not necessarily true. What do you
Not
say
at all.
about it?
No, not at all. Once again, like I said earlier, an AK is a mechanical item. And if you don't maintain a mechanical item, it's much more prone to failure. The AK is, the AK pattern rifle actually is a quite reliable weapons platform, but so is the AR. I have, a couple of ARs, as you well know. One of them I didn't clean for several hundred rounds, and I did so very intentionally. Actually, no, it was over 1,000 rounds that I didn't clean it. The AR, one of the things that we say is that she'll run dirty, but she won't run dry.
Mm,
And the AK is actually quite similar. If you keep running it dry, it's going to fail on you. However, in times of combat, a lot of times you don't need much lubrications for many of these firearms. And the lubrication that you need can be easily gotten. To be honest with you, use motor oil. You put that into your either one of those rifles, and that thing's going to go. I've done it. I've actually used motor oil. I'm not a big fan of it because it's thin and it splatters off. You actually want a lubricant that actually stays on it. But back to what we were saying, when Garantham did the test, the AR did better with the mud, and the AK did better with the cold.
mhm,
That's how it worked. And one of the reasons why is because the way the mechanisms work. The AR has what's called the trunnion system, where it's just a bolt thing that just reciprocates up against the spring.
mhm.
And with that, there's not much in there that can keep it from going if it gets cold. The AR has tighter tolerances around a bolt. So you can get moisture built up on that, around that bolt, and then that'll keep it from firing correctly. But if that AR has any lubricant on it, it's going to, it's going to drive the moisture away, and it'll run. I mean, they do it. Every year we train in Arctic situations every year. And one of the things that everybody talks about is they have ARs. As a matter of fact, there's a job of a guy on there. They have some videos on it where the guy walks around, to give the rifles medicine. He has a regular old GI plastic spoon, and he just takes lubricant and just pours it right in, and they run it back and forth, and they never go. So it's not true in any way, shape, or form that the AR is this mythical thing that just spits hellfire and damnation. Every time that you want to do it, it will jam. I've seen them jam, and the ARs have incredible um, reliability strings, as evidenced by like what they did, for example, in where was it, in Egypt, when the consulate got attacked. Those guys were dumping mag after mag after mag after mag through those ARs, and they just kept chugging. And they spoke about it, a lot. And this was in the desert. So
What's that, Libya? What was it?
yeah, yeah, Libya. I'm sorry, Libya. Yeah, I think it was called 13 Hours was the movie. They
Yeah,
made a movie about it, but I remember hearing after action reports, and they talked about how their rifles stayed up, and they were actually surprised at how they did it. And but many of them actually had heavy barrel rifles, and that is one of the great things about it, and one of the ironic things, because as you well know, I live in Maryland, and in Maryland, if you have an AR pattern rifle, you have to have a heavy barrel. And I just found it, and I just found it funny and ironic how they say that they wanted to do that. So because they called it a sporting rifle, so they wanted the heavy barrel so you could do it. But everybody knew they did it because they're like, oh, we want to make it more expensive, because the heavy barrel rifles are more expensive than the mainline AR rifles.
mm,
However, the heavy barrel rifles came about because the special forces needed something that could take a much longer sustained rate of fire.
Mm.
So you actually mandated that people purchase a rifle that was far more capable of far longer um, um, high rates of fire.
Okay. All right. Man, that's really cool. I learned all this about the
Mhm.
AK platform today. Now, my last question that will become a
Sure.
segment on every video that we do from now on.
Hmm.
Um, Common man purchase. I'm a common man. I have $700 for a rifle, AR or AK. Which one should I go with?
AR, undoubtedly, full stop. For several reasons. One, for $700, you can get a higher end AK than you can I'm sorry, AR. You can get a higher end AR than you can AK. Full stop.
Hmm.
Now the pound with the PSAs that might have changed, but that's going to take a while for them to come down because it's going to take a while for the economy of scale to kick in. With the ARs, that's already there. And also the AR is far more adjustable as you go. So I would say get an Anderson manufacturing AR. You can get one of those for $700. And then as time goes on, you can customize it and accessorize it as you wish. You cannot mount optics to an AK the way that you do to an AR. You simply can't. And if you do so, you have to put a lot more weight on that AK to get to mount
Hmm.
the optic than you can with an AR. And AR, the current ARs are literally built to have optics mounted right to the top of it.
Hmm.
The capacity to put a silencer on is kind of similar with both of them, but with the AK, it's going to be a larger silencer and it's a little less common because the 30 caliber ones are a little less common than the 22 rifle silencers. We call the AR, the tactical Lego set because you can change any part on there in many different ways to customize it for you.
Yeah,
The
absolutely. I mean, I would say, honestly, if it were me, I would say grab a PSA for 499,
Yeah,
510, running
exactly. Yes.
ammo and
Yeah.
training and get
Yeah.
out there with that. I mean, you can, like you said, the great thing about it is the modularity of the AR. I mean, if you want to update your barrel, you can get a BCM barrel. You can get a BCM upper for all I care at that point. And then from there, if you feel great, you can go to a nice armament lower. And like I said, you can get a Franken gun that works, and they all work interchangeably together, which is beautiful for that
Yes,
platform.
yes, it is. As a matter of fact, the 1911 was part of what Eugene Stoner was thinking about when he was creating the AR-10, AR-15, and then subsequently other people like, oh, we can make it. We want to make it so that we can, just like with the AK, so we can put a bucket of parts, and
Mhm.
then we could just build rifles for it. Also, the ammo is more plentiful and cheaper.
Now, is the 7.62 a NATO round? No, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, no, actually, no, no, it is 7.62 I think that is a NATO classification. Yes, I
Okay.
believe that
Okay.
that it
Copy.
is
Okay.
a NATO classification, but it's not a round that is accepted by NATO. The officially accepted round by NATO is the 5.56.
Gotcha.
That's what it is, and the standardization I don't think can be beat because you can pick up AUG Steyr, you can pick up what is that, the L80, that the British use, that
Mhm.
that horrible one. You can pick up the Springfield Hellion, which is a gun of a military there. So that's one of the things that you can pick up any rifle from any NATO nation, and use the same magazine, a Stanak. That's what it is. It's a standard, it's a standard magazine, and you can put it in there and you can run.
Mm.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of it. And also the AR is a bit lighter than an AK. A well loaded, I'm sorry, a well kitted AR is going to weigh about 8.5 pounds.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have a 6 pound rifle, you're gonna have 2.5 pounds of stuff. You're gonna have a scope and a light and a sling, and then your ammo in it. And an AK, yeah, to put an optics mount on it, it's weird. And also when people say, "Oh, but you have to put an optic on an AR," No, you don't. You know, you and I have shot. You see me shoot ARs with iron sights. You
Irons,
know,
baby, all day.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Okay.
your age maybe, mine not so much. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
but you can still you can still do that. And also, like I said, here in the United States, we
Yeah.
just have such a, like you said, such plentiful parts. And the reason why I said Anderson Manufacturing is because they make one that I think is similar to the Palmetto pattern, but Anderson also makes lowers for a lot of the other brands
Mm. Got you. Got you.
as well. So that's the only reason why I say that. I have nothing against PSA. I'm actually a huge PSA fan, and the only problem that I have with PSA, I call PSA, homegrown Taurus. They really build some actually good stuff that works, but their quality control is, can be a bit shoddy. But they do stand by their product. You know,
Hmm.
I own several Taurus firearms, and as you know, I swear by them. They're
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think in this conversation, what we figured out is there's a lot of internet lore that comes with both of these, as we know. But do you research, figure out what works best for you?
Yeah.
I agree. We both believe that the AR platform will be the best platform for where we're at now. I would say the biggest thing I think that you could take away from the AK-47 and what is it is a tried and true gun.
Yep.
We're saying that it's not better than the AR, but it doesn't mean that it's a slouch. It's a tried and true gun, been out there since the end of the Second World War. It's only been getting better and been improved. If you want one, go get one. Again, I would recommend get one that you can afford with the most amount of ammo possible. If you get a gun with no ammo, what do you have? A piece of metal. That's it. Can't do anything with it. So I'll tell you, get the gun that you can afford with the most amount of ammo. I would say every gun purchase that you make should come with a minimum of 200 rounds of ammo. If you can't afford it, wait till you can get the both with that. But I do like the AK platform. I'm thinking about getting one, but I'm like, I think I got enough now. Just got a Hellcat Pro and a Glock 20 that we still gotta have fun with that one. Actually got to send those off for a couple of things with those. But no, that's a great conversation. I really, really enjoyed this. We got to do this again soon. Really, really happy about this. Last but not least, this is just a haymaker when it comes to the 2A community here. Uh, what are your thoughts on the new spear round? We hear about it coming out. No, not I haven't seen anybody that has their hands on it yet. It's kind of like a 7.62, but I believe it's smaller. It's like slightly smaller, if I'm not mistaken. In a new spear round. Have you heard of that one?
Which one? You mean the one that's the new? That's the Army's new round
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
new rifle.
yeah.
Yeah, the
It's not a,
277 Fury.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
civilian
277
one.
Fury, buddy. About
Yeah,
6 hours.
yeah, the
My
277
apologies.
Fury.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
walk on
yeah.
spear.
But I forgot what the NATO designation is
Yeah.
on that. I think that it is. I think that it's a fine round. I understand why they're doing what they want to do with it, and it is powerful. And really, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to get.
It's a 6.8 by 51.
Yep, 6.7 yes. So what they're trying to do is that they're trying to get a full battle rifle round in a carbine format. And while you can do it, it's going to take some time. It's going to be expensive. And once again, in my opinion, we're fighting the last war. We're fighting a war. We're looking to have a round that goes from hillside to hillside and over the valley, because that's what it was in the stands. However, our next war is highly unlikely to primarily be that.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I actually do think that the next war that we have, don't get me wrong, it will come down to rifles. Everybody keeps thinking, oh, it's going to be drones, it's going to be this, that, and the other. I think Ukraine has showed us how wrong that was. What Ukraine showed with widespread drone use is that we end up going back to trench warfare. So
Yeah, man. Just dawn of time. That's how we fought, right? Okay, good.
yeah, yeah.
Good.
So right back there.
Yeah.
But I I I I'm not the reason why I'm not a big fan of it is that one of the things that I look for in around, especially around for military action,
Mm,
is economy of scale and how can you get to it? You know, the United States won wars not by necessarily having the most advanced military gear. Actually, to be honest with you, we actually haven't fully won a war with massively advanced military gear because we haven't actually fought a full war. But we've been shown some of the limitations of it. We're still going to need a firearm that is good. And the thing is that the punching power that we have in the 277 Fury, because that's what I remember off the top of my head, the punching power that we have for everything except the two-piece round, you know, the one with the case head that's made out
mm.
of steel that's linked to the brass. um when we have that, it solves a problem that's already been solved. For all of that, we can, you know, we can use a 308. You know, to be honest with you, because we
I mean, it's
already
very similar to 308. Like I said, it's like an in between the 308 and a 762, which is like I get it, but
I think it's the other way. I think it's between the 308. You sure it's not between the 308 and 30-06? Even though the 308 is, you know, the low end, very low end 30-06, you can still boost it up. So my thing is that, you know, I'm of the opinion that the United States made a mistake when we abandoned the 30-06. If anything, we should have just went back to the 30-06. We have a tremendous amount of ballistic information on exactly what we need to do to make the 30-06 do exactly what we needed to do.
mm,
So what we did was that we went down in size to try to get, you know, the BB that shoots straighter.
mm.
Meanwhile, we've had incredibly successful long range, you know, just bear stopping hunting rounds in 30-06. So I don't, you know, I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think that I think that we've already had that that we've already had that solution, and we just don't want to do it because we want to put another smaller form factor, you know, and be Gucci about it.
Okay. Well, hey, that's gonna do it for this episode. About why AK, more about AK. Also, little known fact. This man here, my dad, had me shoot my first gun. And the first gun he ever had me shoot was a 44 Taurus. And that thing scared the living hell out of me from getting in the 2A community for a while. It's all good now, though. It's all good.
No,
Everything else
but
has no recoil. Everything else has no
tell the
recoil.
whole story. You did not shoot 44 mag rounds. You shot 44 special rounds.
I got 44 special afterwards because I was like, this hurts. Okay, I was like, I don't want to do this. And then he gave me a switch. I was like, oh, you could do this? Like, there's another round that doesn't have to do this? I was like, oh, God. I was like, yeah. I was like, yo, who wants to do this? I mean, this is like literally trying to hold on to a mule's foot. Like, this is not fun.
You were a big
So,
kid. You were able to you handled it no problem.
no, but nowadays, I was just shooting 10 mil, like my new 10 mil a couple days ago. People saying that
Hmm.
a crazy kick, and I was like, nah, this is good as featherweight. But yeah, like 44, 357s. I'm trying to inch my way up there though. But yeah, that's a little funny fact. Hey, Dad, thank you very much. Next time we get together, we're gonna get on my side of things. We're gonna talk about full size versus compact handguns.
Okay.
Got a specialty there, okay? All right, YouTube. Hey, we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget, like and subscribe. That's what keeps the channel pushing. We don't have to have any ads. We don't have to have any like weird sponsors that we don't believe in, stuff like that. Like, as long as y'all like and subscribe, we can keep the channel pushing. Really appreciate that. See you on the next one. Peace.